to keep right.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching Prepare to Go There, the most overlooked and underrated coaching conversation that you and I can be a part of right now. And that's my opinion because I'm convinced that the future deserves our focus. I mean, what are we doing today? We're looking ahead so that way we can show up ready. My name is Peter, and thank you for being a part of this extended coaching journey. It's designed to help friends and leaders alike lead themselves and stay focused on their future. We are getting so close to the season finale of season 1. Over 100 hours of free self-leadership coaching, and I am excited to take a little bit of a break. I didn't plan on it happening so in sync with the holidays, but I just saw a natural stopping point, and I said, you know what? I think I'm going to take the exit, take the pit stop now, so that way I can collect my gains and then reinvest it into the future. So I'm excited about sharing some of the behind the scenes planning that I'm working on with you, this amazing community in mind. And we're going to be sharing how do we collect our gains on a bigger level, not just, with a conversation or a team meeting or a day, but how would we zoom out and figure out how do we collect our gains every month. And there's a lot to talk about in that category. So I want you to say hi in the chat. If you're watching, welcome back. Or if this is your first time, welcome aboard. And it's my observation and growing conviction that most of us don't know how to lead others into a better future unless and until we've learned how to lead ourselves there first. Even if you have a team, even if you have a title, that doesn't mean that you're leading yourself. And self-leadership is, in my estimation, the make or break quality. People want to follow someone who is leading themselves well. Because when you're leading yourself well, you're not a crazy maker. You're not a burden. You become a strength. You're able to be, quote, the servant of all, so to speak, meaning, hey, I'm good. I have a well-ordered life. And, for me speaking personally, I don't have it all figured out. I'm still a work in progress, but thankfully, I am learning how to live personally, practically empowered. So now I can be a strength to other people and not just a burden. And so I just encourage you, if this resonates with you and you want to know, how would I lead myself? How could I stay focused on the future? Then this community is here for you. And there are so many people in this community. There's a bunch of us that are all putting in the necessary, unnoticed preparation. We refuse to accept a lifetime of procrastination. We choose to embrace a lifestyle of preparation. And the Future Friends is the email community that want to keep going on this extended journey, not just kind of see what's going on, but keep up with the coaching, keep up with the community. And I email this group once a week on Fridays. I call it Future Friday, and share all of the coaching content for free from that week. And that's been the rhythm for season 1. We'll see how we level up or pivot moving forward, but it's been a joy just to give and encourage this group of people. Friends, many friends are, kind of starting at the ground level with me. A lot of my subscribers, kind of come from other social networks that I am a part of or have been a part of. So I really, really appreciate that. But I know that there are new people that are just meeting and getting in on this community online. And thank you as well. I showed up online to encourage people like you. And we've got amazing, like-minded, mission-minded people. Um, just y'all inspire me. You keep me going, and you challenge me to level up again and again. We got people in production, media, business, leading great families, um, you know, social workers, civil leaders. Some of you are in the military. Um, just an amazing group of people. So, anything that I can do to help you keep your future on the front burner, that's what this project is about. Um, and you can get into the email community by clicking the link below, and you'll receive a thank you gift. It's the free fail proof planning guide. Um, I want you to get in on this community because we're coming up to a big mile marker. It's the season finale, 100 live streams later, and we're going to be celebrating with a project for you. It's the Future Focused Leadership Mastermind. It's going to be November 20th, a Saturday morning, 9 a.m. to 12 noon Central Standard Time. And it's a small group, online, leadership level mastermind. And it's designed to bring some really great, talented go-getters and kind of put them in a Zoom-like environment. And we're going to be taking on new territory in 2022. And for whatever reason, people think that, just holding on to some semblance of stability is the way to go. But I want to encourage you that your life's work is not fragile, and it was designed and entrusted to you to figure out how to make it work regardless of the circumstances. And so we've got to double down on doing the right, good, hard things so that way we can level up with others in mind. I won't go into a full spread of that mastermind right now because we've got coaching content to get into. But I just want to say thank you to everybody who has shown interest, who has spread the word, let others know that there's going to be a mastermind for friends and leaders who want to focus on their future. So let's get into the coaching conversation for today. Collect your gains. Collect your gains. What do we mean? Well, there's a difference between quitting time and your finish line. We don't just want to eject. We want to have a strategic pause at the end of every conversation, every meeting, every work session, every day, and even every year. So that way we can identify the value of what has just gone on, and then we can collect those gains, whether that's through reflection, whether that's through some sort of follow-up, implementation, organization, and we're just trying to have a strategic pause so that way we can take that value that just happened and make sure that it's going to be reinvested in our future. Make sure that it's going to show up in our future. I'll give you a very ground level example. It's silly. It's a bit awkward for me to say, but I want it to help you. So my wife and I work out together in the mornings, and I had this thought at the end of the workout: collect your gains. And I remember I probably should do the cool down. Normally I don't do the cool down. I just want to, get on with my day because I've got work to do, and I feel like, any head start I can get in the morning, I want to take advantage of that. So I normally don't do the cool down. I like to just escape the workout or eject from what we're doing there. But I told myself this week, because I knew we were working on this content, no, I need to collect my gains. So, you know, basically you can reset to ready. You can pick up after yourself. You can make sure that the space is better than you left it. For me, I was stretching. I was doing the cool down, and that's just kind of what I was up to. And what that did is it helped me to prepare for the next workout. There are times where I didn't do the cool down, I didn't stretch, and I felt it. I was super sore, and I gave the excuses, and I opted out of the next workout. But we can't afford to opt out of new opportunities. We can't afford to opt out of partnerships and friendships that are going to take us into the future faster. And we're going to have to slow down enough to actually value what just happened in the moment and secure it in the ongoing timeline of our growth and progress. So collect your gains every month. We've already worked through the big idea. We've worked through the daily dynamics. I want to talk about every month. How do you collect your gains monthly? And I'm going to attempt this in two different ways. One is by telling a story and trying to identify applications from there. And then two is I'm going to take you behind the scenes and talk about, prepare to go there, why I decided to stop season 1 at the 100th live stream, what that's going to make possible with the new year in mind. And hopefully you'll just find a lot of parallels and a lot of encouragement. My primary audience is the live stream, the people that are on the journey with me. I appreciate you investing the time. If there's any residual value for replays, thank you, thank you, thank you. And if there's, any kind of repurposing that can come out of this, then so be it. That'd be awesome too. And that is kind of a lead in to collect your gains. But here's the big idea for today. The reason we want to collect our gains every month is because each month can bring new momentum. So when you collect your gains on a monthly rhythm, you are giving yourself new momentum. And that's what you need. You don't want to drag last month's baggage into the new month. Another easy example: you finished dinner, but you were overworking, you feel overwhelmed, you don't want to clean up the kitchen. Maybe you don't have a kitchen on hand. I'm thinking of, like, if you're in a dorm or whatever. I don't know how that would apply, but maybe it's a bad joke. Let it slide. Forgive me. The point is, you don't want to clean up. Well, what's going to happen is you wake up the next day and you still have that mess. You still have all those dishes everywhere. So don't bring the baggage and the mess and the problems and the stress into the new month, but instead have a strategic pause, close those open loops, and do the opposite. Actually consider ways to set yourself up in the next round, to prepare for the future. To My wife said that this is hitting her hard, but I'm speaking to myself. She's my inspiration. Okay. Um, so each month gives us momentum. If we can leverage it, if we can harness it, if we can steward it, if we can appreciate it, we will find momentum each month. So, how do we do that? Where does that happen? Well, I can tell you it is not automatic. It is easier said than done. And that is why more is said than done. We have to put in the work to collect our gains before the new month shows up. And so I want to frame it up this way, and we'll tell the story through this point. The battle that is for your focus, for your best work, for your your being present and your attention, the battle for each month will be won or lost at the logistics level. The battle for that momentum that you want and need each month to keep going, keep growing, to keep crushing those goals, to keep showing up again and again, to keep trying, applying, multiplying. I know I'm rhyming, just hang in there with me. The point is, the battle for a momentum is the logistics. Sometimes we think that the battle is won, with some sort of epic clash, some sort of superpower, some sort of I don't know, climax. The battle is not secured without the logistics. You can't have a strong front line if you don't have the logistics organized behind the scenes. And so every month we look at the calendar at all the things that are in front of us, but we don't think about all the logistics that need to happen behind us. So we have to change our thinking a little bit, and we have to get some strategies and some tactics that can help us level up on logistics. Logistics matter to have a great new month. So we're going to be working through these monthly maneuvers, as I'm calling them. But before that, I want to just share a story. It's a real story, and I'm going to compare and contrast two battles that happened during World War II. And I use this as a case study. So what does logistics even mean? Well, Merriam-Webster describes logistics as the things that must be done to plan and organize a complicated activity or event that involves many people. That sounds like the month. It sounds like what goes on in your month, particularly if you have a family, if you got kids, if you got a team, you're responsible for other people. If you have just like a strong social life, whatever it is, the things that must be done to plan and organize a complicated activity or event that involves many people. Think about the last month you've just had. Think about the last 30 days you've gone through. Were there things that needed to get done? Was there any planning involved? Did you feel the pain of not planning last month? Did you have to organize things? Did you have to keep things on track? Did things get complicated? Were there a lot of moving parts, and did you interact with different people? Yeah, I'm sure you did. Everybody has that. That represents the map of what goes on each month. So it's not the showy, flashy things. It's actually what's going on behind the scenes that sets you up to win momentum. There are two battles that happened during World War II that I think help express the importance of preparation, the importance of the logistics. And it may be a stretch because it feels a bit abstract, but I know and I hope that you will just find some applications for yourself, because I get it. Our life doesn't feel as epic, right? The consequences are not as they don't feel as real, but we have to have both urgency and expectancy to do what we do. There are real stresses, real pressures, and real stakes. And we have to show up every day with a disciplined approach. So that way, when we show up ready. We're not distracted. We're not disqualified. We're not discouraged. We're focused. We're staying focused on our roles and our goals, because we realize it's not just about us. It's about the people that are doing life with us and the people who are going to need an example after us. So the first battle went bad, and the second battle became a victory. The first battle was referred to as Operation Jubilee. This was August 19, 1942. So it was about 2 years before the iconic D-Day. And the other battle we're going to compare this to is D-Day, Operation Overlord. Now, Operation Jubilee was actually a very sad day. It was a tragedy in many respects. It had good intentions. Obviously, this was an allied Canadian force, and they were trying to secure basically the same goal. They had the same objective. They were trying to get a Western Front on the enemy. And the catch, the difference between this battle, Operation Jubilee, which went poorly, and Operation Overlord, which ultimately became a victory, is the amount of logistics that went into both, the amount of preparation, the amount of planning and follow through. And so many times we think we can just eject out of one month and just keep cruising into the next month as if something didn't change, as if something doesn't matter. But you have to realize that so much has already happened in the past month. You have to process it, and then you have to figure out the logistics that are going to prepare you for the new month. So Operation Jubilee was focused on an area north of Normandy. It was in Dieppe, and it's about 135 kilometers away from where D-Day happened. And they thought that the element of surprise would be enough. They thought if they were just fast enough, if they just kind of went in for it, if they just had, um, they didn't think that all the planning was necessary. They thought that it was more important just to move quickly than it was to move decisively and to prepare. And so they rushed into this, and there were so many failures and losses, and it becomes a tragedy. Out of the 4,963 soldiers who were engaged in that invasion, 916 Canadian soldiers were killed. And then even beyond that, 2,450 were either wounded or taken as prisoners of war. See, there was a real battle, a real conflict going on, but it wasn't completely won or lost on the courage or on the resolve to keep going, keep fighting on the front line, but rather there was a behind the scenes dynamic that could not be neglected. And the behind the scenes logistics were neglected, and it had a horrible impact on the results. And I'll just be frank with you. I'll just try to be as transparent as I can in this online environment. But a lot of leaders focus more on their public life and what's going on the front lines of their leadership than what's going on behind the scenes in their personal life, their private life, on the interior of their life story. And they're not thinking about the behind the scenes. They're not caring about the behind the scenes because people don't care about that. And that's not what makes headlines unless and until it becomes a tragedy. And so I'm pained by so many great friends, great leaders who start well and then burn out or bail out or opt out because they didn't work through the behind the scenes that would secure the logistical advantages for their leadership. Logistics matter. The details matter. The planning and the preparation matters. And so that actually became in 1942 kind of an example or a case study of what not to do. For instance, they didn't know what the beaches were like. And so a lot of the tanks that were supposed to be an advantage on that invasion, they were sinking in the sand because it was too shallow or it wasn't, they were sinking through. And then there was a lack of communication. There was a lack of preparation. There were breakdowns in the supply chain. There's so many more moving parts that go into it. And maybe there just wasn't, I don't even want to imply that I understand the circumstances because this is so much more than just history. This is, what really happened for so many people. And so fast forward now, the Allied forces really bookmarked that moment. And even out of failure, they collected their gains. Even though that one situation didn't go the way they wanted, they were able to learn from that experience. And there were some other battles that didn't go the way they wanted either, but they had a strategic pause and they said, we're not going to make those mistakes again. We're going to find value in what we did learn. We're going to find value in what we could accomplish, and we're going to reinvest it into the future. And so now they take on a new project called Operation Overlord. And this is what we know of as D-Day. It was June 6, 1944. I'm not sure where the overlap was. I'm not sure, how long they had actually been planning on it. I know that it was a multi-year, multi-month at least planning process, but it was on such a bigger scale. The magnitude of this invasion was, I mean, like nothing else that had happened before. And so it really came down to logistics. They learned to slow down. They learned to be thorough. They learned that they had to make every decision count. And sometimes we think, oh, I'm doing too much. I'm too important for that. That's below me. I don't do that work. I don't do the admin. I don't do the details. I'm the big picture person. But instead, we have to have a humble, focused resolve to say, whatever it takes, we're going to give our best and trust that it's going to play out well. And so my wife and I had the privilege of visiting Normandy, where D-Day happened, and we got to see a lot of the actual locations. And our tour guide kind of dropped a fact on us that blew me away. And he said, for every one soldier that was engaged in the invasion on the beaches, there were 5 more people behind the scenes doing logistics somewhere else. Now, I want you to think about that, because that is staggering. Think about that. There's over 156,000 Allied troops engaged on the front lines, and there are 5 to 1 more people involved behind the scenes to make the logistics happen. That is like mind-boggling to me. In a way, it implies that the logistics are so valuable for the ultimate goal that it is worth the multiplied investment. And I just want to ask you now, I'm trying to draw some lines and to make some applications, kind of connect some dots for you and I. Obviously, we, we're not all living in that context. But I do want to try to drive this point home. Do you care about the results of your month enough to have a strategic pause and to make a multiplied investment in the logistics, all of the moving parts? Or do you think that it doesn't matter, and that, a bad month, or, a slow month, or a plateau in your health, a plateau in your revenue, a plateau in your friendships and relationships, a plateau in your faith journey, a plateau in all these different fronts of your life, that's just coincidence? That's just, what's going on circumstantially. It doesn't really matter. Let's just eject. Let's just, keep our chin up. It'll be better next time. We'll just see what happens. Let's go with the flow. See, is that your self-talk? Are you just justifying again and again and again? Or are you really taking the opportunity of the time you are given to heart? Are you learning how to be grateful, how to be intentional, and how to be a good steward of the time you're given instead of just expecting more and more time and money and chances? Are you going to have that strategic pause? Are you going to slow down? Are you going to work whatever happened in the last month? You're going to face it head on. You're going to take responsibility for it, and you're going to collect those gains. You're going to learn all of the lessons. You're going to figure out all of the decisions that you need to act upon, and you're going to figure out, how am I going to implement what has already been going on in the last month, and how am I going to reinvest that well into the new month? And so here we go into, Operation Overlord, and the logistics were just crazy. I mean, they were engineering new things. They were building floating harbors. They were adding new hardware and equipment. They were taking on so many different circumstances. There was a collaborative effort across the board. And one of the reasons is because, and this is maybe more of a hunch, but I have this sense after just reading and learning about that moment in history, I really believe they all had a shared understanding that they were not going to have another opportunity like this to make a difference, to see a turn in the in the theater of war. And they said, we've got to make this count. It's either now or never. And that's where I really want to kind of drive it home for you. You got to feel the urgency of the life you're living. Your life is valuable. Your life matters. You have purpose, and you've got to make your day count. You have to make your time count. And I believe that life is a gift, and the way we live it is the gift we give back. So, don't just procrastinate on your purpose. Don't procrastinate on your joy. Don't procrastinate on your focus. Don't procrastinate on your commitments, but do the necessary, unnoticed preparation. So that way, when you show up ready. And doesn't that just feel a little different? Kind of putting it in this context. If you're trying to win a battle, you are depending on preparation. There are necessary things you have to do. You're hoping that preparation is going unnoticed, right? And I'm not at all, kind of rallying us into that mindset in a literal sense. But what I am saying is the intentionality and the just the intensity that you have towards your life and your goals. You're absolutely on a war with apathy. You're absolutely on a war with fear. You're on a war with all kinds of compromise. So, don't just think that you're going to be able to just scroll through social media for a few years and wake up and see your awesome passive, income life just kind of manifest in front of you. I'm not here pushing hustle culture, but I am saying you got to have your whole heart, and you got to be fully present where you are, and you got to be fully invested in where you want to go. So I hope this is helping. I do want to kind of try to bring this back down to the ground level. I know that I've kind of been floating out into maybe more of an abstract space, but I would just want to share that story and kind of say, like, the month matters because you're going to get more momentum or new momentum with it. And a lot of us, we just kind of think it's like another day. It's not just that you went from the 30th to the 1st. You went from 1 month to a new month. And if you don't cross over that threshold with the logistics in mind, that you've done your homework, you've done the logistics, you have, let me go back to that definition. You have been focused on the things that must be done to plan and organize a complicated activity or month that involves many people. And if we're honest, we go into a new month without having done anything intentional for that new month. Now, I'm going to give many of you all the credit because you're already amazing in this area. You've got calendars, you've got budgets, you've been coordinating things months in advance. You've got your vacations booked. You've got your goals and your meetups and your masterminds. Many of you, I mean, that's great. Go for it. But there is a group that probably is relating to me and where I've been. I want to encourage you. You have to have a different mindset about just crossing over from, 1 month to another. You have to realize that you are going to have to do some unnoticed, necessary preparation. And when you think of it that way, you're going to be more just probably competent. You'll be a little more confident about doing that work. So let me try to pivot and help us apply this. I want you to practice working on your monthly maneuvers. Now, there are transitions in our day, right? The morning routine is a big one. The evening routine is a big one. The reason we choreograph those routines is because we want to stay on tempo and we want to execute those transitions well. We don't want to get derailed. We don't want to waste time. We don't want to lose our focus. We want to nail those transitions in the day because we realize those are strategic. And if we do those well, we'll actually get bigger wins. Well, the same is true for the way you start and the way you finish each month. So these maneuvers, the first 3 days of the month and the last 3 days, have something of a strategic value for us. The first 3 days and the last 3 days really matter. The way you approach, I'll start with the last 3 days. The way you approach the last 3 days in your month matters because you're doing the logistics. You're thinking about the logistics. Now, hopefully, you've kind of been thinking and working on the logistics, but man, you got to finalize and organize everything because you're about to step into that new month. You're going to cross over a threshold. And so I would summarize by saying, the last 3 days of the month is an opportunity to get ahead of the month. Do the pre-work for the new month. Now, if you already have a weekly planning session, this makes sense. But you got to figure out how are you going to scale up? How are you going to think not just about 7 days, but now how are you going to think about 30 or 31 days out? It doesn't have to be completely detailed because you will get to fill in some of those details on the weekly level, but you absolutely need to be prepared to personally, professionally finalize decisions. At the monthly level, you're looking at what decisions are you going to be running with during that month. And it's easier said than done. I mean, if you're leading yourself, I'm asking you, are you showing up to some sort of monthly project getaway? The last 3 days help you get ahead. And I'm not just thinking about that next week. I'm thinking about that whole next month. What can I be doing ahead of time? It's kind of like countdown sequence, 10, 9, 3, 2, 1. Boom, we're going off. I mean, you got to be thinking of it like a launch. And then if you do that correctly, and if you launch well, and if you you have the plans, you have the details. I know I just said you don't need all the details, but I'm saying you have made decisions and you've filled in the calendar, you've communicated everything to the people in your life and the people in your team. There is a bit of a load that comes off of you, and then it's just systems taking effect. Now the systems are going. Now things are moving without you pushing them. And many times we can become the bottleneck for our own projects, our own goals, our own ideas, our own values. And we're like, what's happening? I want to do this and it's not happening. Why? Doesn't that seem kind of backwards? But you can have a good intention, but if you don't have a system to make it happen, then absolutely you became the bottleneck. And so those last 3 days, I don't think of it like, okay, I'm out of here, that's it, whatever. I try to focus, I try to be present, I try to get ready, and I want to reset that month to be ready for the new month. Now, if you work remotely, if you do creative work, if you are responsible for teams of people, or maybe you're engaged in a community of some sort, one of the areas this is going to show up in is in your digital life, your online life, and all the files and the folders and the pictures and the videos. And if we're not careful, we'll just kind of have this rolling archive of digital artifacts. And we're going to have to stay organized. And if we want to help others be mobilized, when you are organized, then you can release more and you can mobilize others. But if you're not organized and if you're not integrated and all these aspects of your life are not ordered well, then people are either going to be waiting on you, or they'll be kind of picking up around you after you, or they're not going to be able to follow you because they don't know what's going on. And I mean, they want to help, but you're going in 15 directions, so they don't know what's the plan. And instead of kind of, telling a story that disempowers you and just thinking that everybody is against you, just chill out and say, no, I got this. I can figure this out. I'm not depending on me, but I have to take the first step. I have to do something different. And you will, day by day. The last 3 days are strategic. You got to be thinking about resetting to ready. You got to be thinking about finalizing decisions. You got to be thinking about kind of just systemizing what's going to happen in that next cycle and making sure that it has a successful launch. And then you got the first 3 days. And for me, the first 3 days is now the opportunity to get away, to actually say, hey, I launched that month successfully. I launched projects successfully. I launched team things successfully. So I've created a little bit of a buffer, and it doesn't have to be, specifically 3 days, whatever. But I want to use that as something that you could at least start with, just as an example or a tool. If you have the first 3 days of that month now, you've launched well. The month is kind of out the gate. The month is happening. All of those moving parts are happening. People have gotten their answers. You've confirmed things. You've put things in place. You should feel a load kind of lifted. Now the clock starts again, and you've got more time to either recoup from that launch sequence, and or you got time to strategically work again on the future. For me, go back to what's important, what's possible. And working strategically, always trying to stay ahead, always, being ready in season, out of season, so to speak. I use this analogy. I want to wear a sweater in the summer and swim shorts in the winter. Now, not literally, but the point is, I want to be thinking ahead. I want to be working on the future, because I have people that are depending on that preparation. By the time they get to that point, there has to be something that's been worked on and developed, so then it can be deployed. But many times we're kind of just winging it, or we're working on it as we go, and we're calling audibles. And people who call audibles all the time love it. They love calling audibles because they didn't do any preparation in the first place. So if you've been doing the preparation personally, professionally, and whatever else, you're going to have something to give. You're going to have value to give, and not just things you're going to be critiquing and saying, well, this needs to get done and that needs to get changed, and where's this? And you're not going to be harping on other people, but hopefully you've kind of been humble enough to just kind of go off the radar a while and say, let me keep working on something else. I'll be back, and hopefully it'll come developed on time, and it'll be a gift. It'll be of value to you. So it's kind of this ebb and flow in a monthly rhythm, this ebb and flow of being really present, really engaged, launching something well. This is after you've taken a measure of time to think through, develop, or organize, coordinate pieces, and just figure out, like, how would that apply to you? How could that apply to your life? Now, I want to finish with an example for Prepare to Go there. And I saw a natural stopping point at the 100. And so I didn't want to just keep going on and risk plateauing the production quality, and risk kind of repeating myself and saying the same things over and over. I'm okay with having this strategic pause, realizing that there's more to me than just this content, and realizing that the content is going to, that I share here is only going to be as good or as strong as the work that's happening unnoticed. And there's more parts to me than what people see, and I have to steward that personal life just as much, and make sure that that is strong and healthy and focused and good and clear. And thankfully, I'm very grateful. I'm in a really good place in life, and I can't take credit for all of it, but I have been able to put in the work. So here are some of the things I'm inspired about. Here are some of the things I'm looking forward to. I upload these videos and I'm thinking, wow, I could really improve the thumbnails. I could improve the descriptions, the SEO. I could learn more about that. Maybe I could um, trim stuff up, figure out how to improve the production quality. And this is where this idea of downtime can be leveraged into game time. Downtime can be leveraged into game time. And so the idea of collecting the gains is to say, instead of just kind of moving on to the next thing and saying, all right, season 2, let's do the same thing, again, saying, no, I'm going to just take a little bit of a pause and I want to assess, figure out what's working, what's not working, get good feedback, try to double down on what's good, level up on what's, exciting. And I just see like these conversations have been so valuable. These interactions have been so good. I keep showing up because I need to hear this stuff again and again and again. And I think that, even one conversation can be multiplied and force multiplied in ways that could help and serve uh, even more people. But if I don't take this strategic pause, I feel at least that I wouldn't be able to really collect the gains that are available. And so that's why I'm looking forward to a season finale, a good holiday time with my wife, our first Christmas in our home, and then just kind of be tinkering behind the scenes and leaning forward and hoping that we can create and share more value moving forward. So that is it for today. I hope you got some ideas, got some encouragement. You're thinking about your monthly momentum and ask yourself, what are you doing intentionally with the last 3 days of the month? What are you doing intentionally with the first 3 days of the month? And then is there a way that you could systemize it? Is there a way you could optimize it? Your calendar, your budgeting, um, the goals you have, the projects, the moments, the meetings, the dinner parties, the stuff you want to try, the workouts. There's so much stuff, and if you had just a little bit of distance, I think you could see and then organize all those things in a way that's more streamlined and just more doable all around. So don't feel like you're just going to ram through a new month and just think that it's just going to all take care of itself. You have an opportunity to kind of, for lack of a better phrase, improve your chances, maybe to improve the outcome. Yeah, things are going to happen again and again, but what if they could happen better? What if you could bring more to those moments? So, work on your monthly maneuvers. I want to say thank you for being on this extended coaching journey. And I want to give you a gift. It is a free fail-proof planning guide. It's going to help you get going so you can get better. You can download it instantly, get to work on your roles and goals, flesh that out into some working rhythms, and then get traction, get after it, and take those action steps through a proven step-by-step weekly planning session. It's here to help you out. If you know any friends and leaders that want to level up with their self-leadership, let them know that there is a community to encourage them and help them with the strategies and tactics to go the distance, make a difference. That's it for me. I'm ready to call it a day. I really appreciate you. I appreciate you being on this journey, and I look forward to tomorrow. We're going to talk about what you can do to collect your gains each year. How do you finish the year well? And then how could that be a strategic advantage for the next year? And then in 2 days, we're going to have the 100th live stream of Prepare to Go There, the season finale of season 1. And I hope that you can be a part of it at whatever level. Stay awesome, stay encouraged, keep putting in the work, and we'll be together real soon. Prepare to go there.